standing in the carriage house of Farniente, home to a vintage car collection. Gil Nickel, who restored this magnificent winery, was a race car champion and a vintage car collector. Many of his gems are on display at the winery for all to enjoy. Besides the card collection, there are beautiful gardens, caves, and of course a winery on the property. Farniente is best known for its Chardonnays and Cabs. We caught up with the director of winemaking, Dirk Hampson, for his insights on making wine.
Well, the philosophy here at Farniente has really been formed over a long period of time, and it's probably most influenced by the great old estates of Bordeaux, where they've had a tradition of excellence for a really long period of time, and that excellence gets defined very much as a house style. We've ended up with flavors and proportions and the way we make wine here that are very much Napa Valley, and they're very much dictated by the personalities of those of us that have created this estate. And year after year, these vintages fit in. There's a difference in the vintage, but they fit in, most definitely speak of being from Farniente. There's true excellence that comes out year after year, and that's the foundation of all of it. There are a ton of technical little details we do, and the secret with Farniente is, in fact, not just a single one of those details, but we have such a strong idea of what we're trying to get in the way of style and flavors that, given what the year gives, a year like 2004 is a very, very warm year right at the end, we need to apply techniques differently than a year like 2002, which was much more moderate. So yes, we do lees stirring on the Chardonnay. We do incredibly precise profiling of temperatures to extract color on Cabernet during fermentation. But the real secret of Farniente is, in fact, blending these techniques together so year after year it comes out with something that is identifiable distinctly as Farniente, as opposed to just being a great red wine.
This week on the Food Challenge, George decided to venture south of the border. Fortunately for George, south of the border is just minutes from San Francisco.
Thanks, Jennifer. Tonight I'm at Ola Mexican Restaurant in Burlingame. It's a family-owned restaurant with great Mexican food. I'm with Jonathan Wagner, their wine consultant. And Jonathan, typically we don't think about wine with Mexican food, but you've come up with some really creative pairings for this. Let's start first. I went with the cheese enchilada because that's a very traditional fare. And what are you suggesting with that?
With the cheese enchilada, because of the cheese and maybe some of the saltiness in the cheese, it makes a great combination for one of my favorite pairings, which is sweet with salty. And so we chose a Riesling, which is a German Riesling, to go with the cheese enchiladas. It gives a little bit of sweetness, a nice burst of acidity, cuts through the fat in the cheese, and it's a good match for the enchiladas.
Now, I almost thought that we were going to break into a celebration, a fiesta tonight when I saw the champagne on the table. We have two really unusual dishes. They're very different from each other. Are the ceviche, which is the shrimp and the avocado, and it's a seafood medley, along with the pomegranate and stuffed chili peppers with the beef inside, and you're choosing champagne?
I am. For the ceviche, because it's got a lot of lime juice and acid in it, I wanted to choose a wine that had a lot of acid to cut through, to match up with the acidity in the ceviche. It also is a really spicy dish, so it's very difficult to pair a really spicy dish with a wine. The champagne acts in many ways, in this case, I think, like a beer, which is cold, crisp. It has that bubbly characteristic to it, the carbonation that beer does, and it really cuts through that spiciness and cleans your palate off really well.
Now, going with the chilies, why did you still stay with the champagne?
I stayed with the champagne here as well because the sauce on the chilies is actually quite sweet. And I don't think that a red, in this case, even though it's filled with ground beef, I don't think a red would be good here. I think the champagne is still a great choice for this dish because it's also sweet, and I didn't want the sweetness of the food to create a bitterness in the wine. So we stayed away from the red here. If this didn't have a sweetness to it, I would say go for a red.
Now, when are red wines more appropriate with Mexican foods? What type of dishes, traditional dishes, could we see and use the red wine with?
Good question. I think like a steak fajita or carne asada type of dish with a nice steak with some spiciness to it would be great with a Spanish-style red such as this. Otherwise, I think that the two we chose before are a good choice.
So Jennifer, it's fiesta time with my cheese enchilada, my ceviche, and my stuffed peppers. I even have a little champagne to go along with it. Of course, if this isn't working for you, there's always a margarita.
Remember
Thousands of years ago, the Pomo Indians walked the land where Brassfield Estate Vineyard now lies. Living off the abundance that the valley offered, they enjoyed a serene existence in the beautiful meadow that came to be known as High Valley. Premium wines have never been more accessible for everyday enjoyment. For more information, visit www.brassfieldestate.com.